this Malaysia-US agreement on reciprocal trade. When people started reading the text, they felt as if we had to listen and accommodate the US on whatever it is that they wanted from Malaysia. And I think that is something that needs to be clarified.
Welcome back to another episode of Are We OK Season 2. And today we have a very special guest here with us. Someone that we are very familiar with and is back here again. Hopefully not just for one episode. That is Dr. Ong.
Hey Peter, welcome to the Are We OK podcast, the podcast that talks about politics and public policy in ways that are accessible to you, the man and the woman and the child on the street.
Wow, you still
It's good to be
lost
back.
it.
It's good to be back.
So, how have you been, Dr. Ong?
I'm good. I've lost some weight. I'm not sure whether you can notice. I've lost maybe about 6-7 kilos over the past 3 months or so. So I'm back in good running shape.
Yes.
Not so stressful anymore these days compared to before. And also adjusted to my corporate work quite well. For those of you who are interested, you can look this up on LinkedIn. We're not going to talk about that on this show. I'm here in my capacity as adjunct professor at Taylor's University, still helping out with the PPE program at Taylor's, and here to talk about some of the latest public policy developments. Hopefully not for this time only. Maybe there'll be future shows which we can come together on, especially when they are hot topics.
Yeah, that will be really fun. Now, fun fact, the other day I met with Cervantes, and he was showing me your running record with Mike Chu.
Okay. Yeah, so Daniel Cervantes, a good friend of ours. I did run with a good friend of mine, ours, Mike Chu, who is the CEO of PTT Outdoor. He has this brand called Tahan, a very good brand for outdoor equipment. And we met up in Singapore and we ran. He's about maybe 20 years younger than me. But I think I still am a little bit faster. A little bit
A little bit is an understatement. So I saw your pace, 5.3, right? 5.3, right? Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah. 5.3.
But the point is that people are already dying. And you're definitely not pushing him. So now I'm starting to wonder, if you were to run really for competitively, how fast can you go?
I recently participated in a race at Carey Island. It was a 10K race. This is part and parcel of SD Guthrie's Carey Island heritage activities. And because it was a relatively small race, I actually came in second in the men's veterans category. I ran about less than about 49 minutes 30 seconds for a 10K race.
Serious?
Yeah, so it's about sub 5 minute pace. I haven't done that in a while, so I was quite happy.
Wow. Yep. I don't dare run with you.
It's okay. We can take it slow. I'm a very good pacer. If you want me to go and pace you for races, just reach out to me on LinkedIn. I do it FOC if, let's say, I see that you're serious about running and wanting to improve. Yeah, but if you are sub 4:30 pace, it's okay. I'm not at that level yet.
Okay, there's not many people like that. Okay, anyway, let's go back to the show and I'll pass it on to you.
So,
that was an interesting topic.
I think one topic that I really want to start us on is this Malaysia-US agreement on reciprocal trade, or ART. We're going to call it ART for short. There's been a lot of news and people talking about it, and I really want to do a deep dive on this so that you guys can understand better, and I try to take you behind the curtain. Although I don't have any specific insights from what's happening within MITI, but I think I can make educated guesses on what the process was. But before I go into that, I wanted to ask you, as an interested observer in this area, what were some of the chatterings that you heard with regards to this, ART that was signed when President Trump was here during the ASEAN summit?
I think for me, this particular thing, there were a few different sort of chatters, but I'll just share what was really interesting to me. I think firstly, when you talk about the number of product that are being exempted, all those are basically the baseline things that we're talking about.
Okay, right? And I'll talk about that as well. Yeah,
and another thing is that because US apparently became our top trading partner, number one, surpassing China.
Not top trading partner. China is still number one, but probably top export market. So that means we export.
We export to them.
Yeah.
Right, the most. Yes. So then I thought, okay, that's very good. Okay, now then what truly caught my attention is, I think, the rare earth topics there that is not being really highlighted but being just covered, not banning any processed rare earth exports.
Yeah, critical minerals. Yeah,
Yes.
we can talk about that as well.
And
yeah.
that's the part that I like the most. The reason being is because I think previously Malaysia was pursuing a relationship with China on this, and China did say yes. But many people who actually, the market chatters generally is that when you work with China, it is good, but the transfer of knowledge can be quite limited. It's quite restrained and constrained within the Chinese entities, right? Comparing to US, generally they're a little bit more open for technology sharing, and we have seen it happen in terms of Penang, right? The whole Penang is a result of the Intel investment, right? And that was something that I like the idea of, although they're not super highlighting it. Then, while at the same time, there are some people who say that we're actually giving up a lot of sovereignty over it, which I believe part of it that you will cover.
Yeah. So you made a good point, as a good starting discussion point with regards to critical minerals. And I think when people started reading the text, they felt as if, we had to just listen and accommodate the US on whatever it is that they wanted from Malaysia. We have to send, raw materials or very lowly processed materials that contain critical minerals to the US just because the US asks. And I think that is something that needs to be clarified. That's something that the Minister Tengku Zafrul has already come out to say, that we still have, a de facto export ban of unprocessed raw materials of critical minerals. And we are open to working with US as well as other parties. It can be from China, it can be from Europe, it can be from Japan or Korea. It can be our own internal, technologies that we develop along the way. It can be through the expansion of the Linus plant from Australia that's currently in Kuantan. Right. So I think this basically sets the ground for a more complex understanding of the ART, whereby we are opening up channels for deeper engagement and investment and cooperation with the US. And at the same time, there is language in the text which says that, we pursue these according to agreements on both sides.
Yes.
Right? So the US, if they want to come up with funding, they want to come up with investment proposals, which is natural. They also want their interest taken care of. We will also have our own domestic regulations and also investment, approaches. And I think it will be good for Malaysia to try to broaden the discussion so that we don't get the impression that, we can only get technology from one country. Yes, China is important and we definitely should engage with them on the technological front, but we should use this opportunity to say that, look, we're also open to other opportunities as well. For example, the audience may not know, we are in the midst of discussing the EU-Malaysia Free Trade Agreement, right? And I'm sure, looking at what's being discussed and what has already been put in the ART, and critical minerals is something that Europe is also interested in. They would probably want to have something in the EU-Malaysia FTA that talks about critical minerals as well. So Malaysia can use that to really grow our critical minerals ecosystem. Yeah. So that's just one example, and I'm glad that you brought that up. But let's maybe go into some of the chronology of what has happened that led to the signing of the ART at the ASEAN Summit at the end of October. So I'm not sure whether you remember, earlier this year, before Liberation Day that took place in April, there was the issue of, suddenly Malaysia is being spotlighted as a place where people are accusing of certain companies of using Malaysia as a transshipment point of
human trafficking, is it?
Not human trafficking, although that is an area of concern as well, but high-end NVIDIA chips to China.
Yes.
You see, a lot of people have forgotten, because it seems like it happened so long ago.
Yes.
But this was something that put Malaysia in the spotlight. A particular Singapore minister may have thrown Malaysia under the bus by some of the things that he said. But Tengku Zafrul had to come out to say, Malaysia is looking at this very seriously, right? And this is part and parcel of our issues that we needed to raise to the US when we were talking to them. And along the way, there were also reports, I think in May, in July, saying that Malaysia is being used as a transshipment point by Chinese companies sending their goods, not just to Malaysia, but other parts of Southeast Asia, and then rerouting them to the US with very minimal processing or value added. Right, so in the context of some of these things, right, and MITI did take action, took back the responsibility of the issuance of non-preferential certificate of origins, basically for countries we don't have an FTA with, focusing on the US, to say we are cognizant of this issue and we will try to address it. So when we go into the trade negotiations with the US, all this forms part and parcel of the backdrop. And we have to understand, or hopefully the audience can understand, that the Americans under this particular administration is using all this as pressure points against Malaysia. Right? And it's not just that, Remember Liberation Day, tariff announcement came out 24%. Okay, we're not as high as some of the other countries, but we're not as low as Singapore at 10%, for example. And again, people forget very fast. A lot of people were pressuring Zafrul. And how come you haven't gone to the US yet, right? And he did. Right. Later on, end of April, he went, saw the US Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, saw the US Trade Representative, Jameson Greer, and he followed that up with another trip, I think in June.
Yes.
Right? And then at the end of July, I'm not sure whether you remember, a new round of tariff rates were announced, and Malaysia went up from 24% to 25%.
Yes.
Right? Then a lot of people criticize Zafrul.
Yes.
Hey, how come you went twice? Our tariff didn't go down, but actually went up.
Yes.
Right?
In fact, just to put a point there, I still remember a big part of our conversation during that time also was about this, saying that we need to build a good relationship with US to ensure security of trade deals, right?
Exactly, yes. And again, within the chronology, in early July, when Secretary Marco Rubio was here for the ASEAN Foreign Ministers Summit, he received a letter from Prime Minister Anwar inviting President Trump to come to KL for the ASEAN Summit. And then at the end of July, he had a call with President Trump where he spoke about different things. And on the 1st of August, our tariffs went down from 25 to 19%. And in the midst of this, ongoing discussions and talks between the US and Malaysia on the possibility of signing some sort of a trade agreement when President Trump comes to KL. Right. So this is the backdrop. It's not something that happened suddenly.
Come, right?
Yes, and I believe that there would have been a cabinet mandate given to Zafrul to continue these discussions in good faith, with certain caveats to say that Malaysia's sovereignty will be maintained under whatever agreement that we sign, but there is a pressure to sign that trade, some sort of a trade deal when President Trump comes, right? So, does that set the context for you? Any gaps that you want to address or questions that you want to ask?
It's a good jog down to memory lane of over the past continuity of the episodes that we have done.
Correct. Yeah, and I'm not sure whether you remember, but one of the things that I said that Malaysia should do is basically throw the kitchen sink at the US. Say that we have all these GLCs with commitments to buy this and to trade and to invest, remember? Yes. And then this was what came out in the ART. Yes. Malaysia's commitment to undertake these kinds of purchases. That was already in the plan and in the works. We put that in as a nice package. Yeah. Right? And commendations to Zafrul for being able to put all these things together, get the industry to give all this information to MITI and package it in a way that would make the agreement more attractive for President Trump to sign.
No, having said that, right, now that we talk about this, running down the memory lane, bringing back all these kind of things that we used to talk about and remembering the sentiment changes as well, right? I suddenly feel like actually it's really a very odd position or a very difficult position for any minister to be in, because you spend a whole year following exactly trying to complete something that everyone was asking you to do. And from the public also say, do it. And during that time also, the opposition was saying that like, hey, you all only go China, don't do anything US. Then after that, he get it done already. Now you say, hey, you're selling out our sovereignty.
So I'll address...
Such a sad thing to be.
I'll address the selling out part, but I think we have to put a few things on record. I think the Minty Minister himself has admitted that this may not be the fairest deal for Malaysia. I mean, the word agreement on reciprocal trade is there. The word reciprocal is there, but it's not necessarily reciprocal. It's I think it's lopsided.
Yes, it is.
The language also seems to indicate more pressure on the US for us to align with them on certain policies, right? Critical minerals, other security issues to do with semiconductors and whatnot. But I want to sort of like talk about the counterfactual, which is this lah. Imagine if President Trump had come to KL, and then we don't sign any trade agreement because we don't agree with some of the text that was proposed. And I believe that the US would have taken maybe a stronger line on some of the language, to sort of like use Malaysia as a reference case for negotiations with other countries, perhaps. If let's say, okay, we say I don't want to sign because this is not favorable, too lopsided. Imagine a situation whereby later, President Trump says, okay, for all those countries that don't have trade agreement with the US, the tariffs are going to be increased by X%. Or for all those countries that don't have a deal with us, they're going to be hit with additional tariffs on the semiconductor sector. Because President Trump has the right to do that under Section 232 of certain US trade law to undertake special action on certain sectors of the economy that have to do with national security. Right? So semiconductors, he can categorize them as one.
Yep.
Right? And if this had happened, the public would say, how come you didn't sign any trade deal when Trump was here? Right? How come you didn't do more? How come you didn't take advantage of the golden opportunity to get something down on paper to protect the interests of our semiconductor sector and maybe of other sectors as well that may be affected? Right? So this kind of counterfactual thinking, I think, is important for us to reflect on because now people are attacking MITI, attacking the government for signing something which perhaps we may not know the full implications of, but I think definitely the public and even some people in Parliament who are critical of this particular agreement may not understand fully.
Yeah.
Right?
I think one of the opposition that a lot of people are saying that even in like you go to coffee shop talks and a lot, what they will say is that whatever that was signed there, quite a big part of it is already implemented. For example, 19%, for example, 90%, the 1,700, they say it's already there. But here's what I think they don't realize is Trump can change his mind anytime without this.
Correct.
And he has done that so many times. So what you want to do is that locking in the deal is
locking in the deal.
Very, very important. And on top of that, considering the fact that he always changes his mind, there's a very high chance that he'll break this deal before you do lah.
So you're right. A lot of that discussion, so for example, the agreement to reduce Malaysia's tariff to 19% would have been contingent on Malaysia and other countries that enjoy those tariffs signing some sort of an agreement with the US. And even though this deal is lopsided, it doesn't mean that Malaysia didn't receive anything in return. We got exemptions for zero-rated US tariffs on not just semiconductors, but on palm oil, on cocoa, on aerospace, on chemicals, on pharmaceuticals. So much so that Indonesia is now asking, how can we get the same kind of treatment with regards to zero-rated exports of palm oil? Because it's an important export for Indonesia as well. And Indonesia, has not signed any agreement with the US, even though in principle they have agreed with some sort of agreement with the US, right? So that's why all these kinds of benefits are not being enjoyed because you haven't signed that trade agreement yet. So even though in principle some of the things that you talk about, like the 19%, was already in place, we needed to, like you say, lock it in. Right? Lock it in so that we have a reference point, a discussion document that is quite complete, that has a lot of text in it, and definitely much more compared to, let's say, Cambodia or Thailand at this point in time. Yeah. So let me just give you a very simple example. of how some of these things can be misread, I'm going to talk about the Article 3.1, Digital Services Tax. Okay, very simple, so that warm the audience up. Malaysia shall not impose digital services tax or similar taxes that discriminate against US companies in law or in fact. Right. So when I read this, I thought, okay, we need clarification on whether we are going to take away the digital services tax on US companies such as Facebook, Meta, and Google that have operations in the services sector here in Malaysia. That was introduced, I think, in 2024. So I thought we needed clarification on that. But there were a lot of commentators which basically jumped to the conclusion to say that, Malaysia has to or will get rid of the digital services tax on US companies. They just read it like that and say, okay, we're going to get rid of it. Right? But my reading was, okay, shall not impose digital services tax or similar taxes that discriminate against US companies. Actually, our current digital tax, services tax regulation doesn't discriminate against US companies.
Yep.
It is against, it is being charged on all companies that have digital services tax, including, TikTok from Singapore/China, right? So Malaysia can stand its ground and say we will continue the digital services tax because it doesn't discriminate against the US.
Because discriminate is I target you only mas.
Correct, right? So of course the US can push back to say that. I think because 80% of the companies that are operating in this sphere that gets charged this tax are based in the US. So you are discriminating against us, but we can push back to say that, hey, if let's say these companies decide to exit Malaysia, and then suddenly 80% of the services are being offered by Chinese or EU companies, we will still introduce the same tax. We will still maintain the same tax, right? So we're not trying to discriminate against you. It's just that so happens that you have so many companies that are good in these areas, right? That's one example of how people can misinterpret these kinds of agreements in the sense that Malaysia's own sovereignty is still being protected, right? And then the other one that is probably more controversial, Article 5.1, talked about, if let's say the US imposes a customs duty fee or charge on, or even import restrictions on a good or service of a third country, then the US intends to notify such measure to Malaysia for the purpose of economic and national security alignment. So people look at this text and say, whatever the US does, Malaysia has to follow. But it doesn't, they don't read the text in context. They don't read the details. So for example, just go on. Upon receiving such notification from the US, Malaysia shall adopt or maintain a measure with equivalent restrictive effect as the measure adopted by the United States, and this is important, or agree to a timeline for implementation that is acceptable to both parties, to address a shared economic and national security concern, guided by the principles of goodwill and a shared commitment to enhancing bilateral relations between the US and Malaysia. So in that, Malaysia has put in certain safeguards already.
Yes.
Right, to say that, okay, timeline for implementation that is acceptable to both parties.
Yes.
Right, if let's say it's not acceptable to us, then okay we go back to the discussion and negotiating table It doesn't mean that we will terminate this agreement immediately.
And it also doesn't mean single-sided. You agree, any?
Yes, correct. So I'm gonna just read on Article 5.1, number 3. Malaysia shall adopt through its domestic regulatory process similar measures of equivalent restrictive measures as those adopted by the US to encourage shipbuilding and shipping by market economy countries. So this is another area that they're focusing on, shipbuilding. The parties shall discuss the structure and effect of such measures, recognizing the parties' commitment to address shared economic and national security concerns in this particular sector. So again, there's this a language of shared economic and national security concerns, right? So we are negotiating in good faith. If let's say we find that what the US is trying to impose on Malaysia does not align with shared interests, we have a right to push back and say no, right? So I think this is the nuance that needs to be addressed. And I received this text from a person in government who got it from a lawyer, and this text read, "Don't just look at the text, look at the context." Right? What this means is, okay, Malaysia is agreeing to this and has signed the ART under a lot of pressure from the US and also internal pressure for us to get something signed when President Trump is here. That is the context, right? And the text also has in it words and language that on surface may seem to push Malaysia towards the US, but if you read it more carefully, there's language there that allows Malaysia to push back and to negotiate in good faith, right?
Yeah. My overall view of this, right, when it comes to the sentiment and understanding it in the overall context, for one, if you look at the more micro scale, which is the document itself, while there are some very heavy words, or it seems like it's a little bit more lopsided, the reason being is because there are certain benefit that we are giving to the US is penned down very clearly, but the common interest part, it is very up to negotiation.
Yes.
But it is not entirely that we are losing out, because we also safeguard ourselves in that. So in that case, it is lopsided, right? But on the other hand, my argument also is that we are Malaysia.
Small country.
Small country.
We're not China.
Correct.
We can't push back in the same way.
Correct. We are not China, man. Yeah, so this is a whole different thing altogether.
Whole
right?
different ball game.
Whole different ball game. And let's be honest, the relationship itself is lopsided by nature.
Yes.
It is never an equal relationship to start with. Right?
Yep. And this is where the context is important. This is where the optics even is important. If you think about it from the perspective of President Trump, what will he remember about his visit to Malaysia? Right? I just put some thoughts out there. Firstly, it will be the grand reception that he got, dancing, with the dancers and all that. And he likes this kind of stuff even during the campaign trail in the US, right? And if you compare that with his reception in, let's say, Japan and Korea, there was no such, dancing troops out there, right?
Yes.
Prime Minister received him on the tarmac. Usually, we don't do that. Even if, let's say, it is President Xi who comes, it is one of the senior ministers, somebody like Anthony Loke, that will go and receive the honored guest and leader at the tarmac. This time it was Anwar. Some people criticize him, but hey, you got FaceTime with Trump in the Beast, got to ride in the Beast, got to welcome him. Really shows Trump the importance of his time here in Malaysia, right? And that's one. Second thing is, we close all the roads. He'll be able to see the Max Highway. US people are commenting, hey, how come the infra in Malaysia is so good, right? You saw some of their comments, right? It was quite funny. But I think, good for Malaysia.
Don't live on trees, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he would have been impressed by the developments in downtown KL, given the fact that he's a developer.
Yes.
Right, all the big buildings, all the new towers here and there. He would have been impressed. Maybe he wants to come and build a tower here next time. We don't know, right? And he would have remembered the signing of the Thai and Cambodia peace agreement. He would also remember Malaysia signing the ART with him. So all this would leave a good impression.
Yes.
Right, and good impression, and also we, from a strategic standpoint, we probably want to stay under the radar so that we don't get in the headlines for the wrong reason.
Right. So here's where, right, I thought it was a very smart play for Anwar and the MITI team, right, from Tengku Zafrul. Because remember in the early days, we display a lot of closeness with China, right?
Yes.
And in the whole Southeast Asia, when we look at it, I think the three very notable country, we talk about Singapore. Singapore is doing very hard to remain neutral. Neutral, that's their strategy, right? And then for Indonesia's side, they are trying to maneuver. We can see that. Same as Malaysia, we are trying to maneuver. But would argue Malaysia is a bit more successful in that. At this
We are more nimble, we're more strategic.
Yes. So we displayed a lot closer with China. And at one point, I still remember one of the US ambassador actually spoke up and said that you have the right to protect your national interests, so do we. And that was a signal where like, hey, you're getting a little bit too close to the other side. And there's this whole global narrative, which is Southeast Asia generally is more inclined towards the Chinese powers, right? And the whole script flipped suddenly the day he came in. So there was an Anwar who's getting close to China and Russia, then MITI working towards the US side, and suddenly at the moment he came on that day, the whole script just flipped. And Anwar just displayed this whole entirely different thing where like, as long as you are in my land, you are a VIP, regardless whether you are China or America.
We treat you well because we want to have that balance and we want to protect our national interest.
Yes. So suddenly the whole script flipped, right? And it just went like, wow, now we are BFF with America. And what I noticed also is China's response from there. It was also very neutral.
Yeah.
It is like, hey, I understand what's your situation. You know what? That's memang what I want for you all to remain neutral. And yeah, go and do your thing. Just go and do your thing.
Yeah.
And we've successfully remained neutral and BFF on both sides.
So some people ask me, oh, so how is China going to respond to this ART? I say, hey, China doesn't have to respond because their interests are not affected.
Yes.
Right? All those things that you may cast aspersions or certain thoughts that, the US is going to force Malaysia to do certain things that are against Chinese interests. If the things that the US wants Malaysia to do is not just against Chinese interests, but not in favor of Malaysia's interests, we will push back according to some of the language here. Right, so I think China knows that Malaysia will want to maintain our interests, and as long as those interests align with what China wants to do from a FDI perspective, from a security perspective, we will try to be friends with everyone, and try to protect our own national priorities. Right, so that's one thing to highlight, and just to wrap this session up, right. I saw a Facebook post, which was a media statement that was issued by a friend of ours, Wong Chen, MP for Subang Jaya, where he basically criticized the ART, and he put a lot of conditions out there to say that we need to do X, Y, and Z. Basically, elevate this ART to a very prominent national kind of monitoring mechanism. And I found this problematic for a couple of reasons. The statement was issued jointly by him, Rafizi, as well as Nick Nazmi, two former cabinet ministers. So I found it problematic for a couple of reasons. Number one, the manner in which he wanted to elevate and give attention to this ART basically puts Malaysia's strategic interests at risk, in a sense that whenever some of these things get reported in the national news, if let's say the monitoring mechanisms that Wong Chen wants is going to be in public, the international newspapers are going to pick it up, and some of it may be reported in the US, some of it may be reported in China, and then suddenly we find ourselves getting caught in this fight between the two giants for no good reason, right? What we should do is to continue to press for our own national interest, but do it quietly, right? And if let's say the MPs want to have a briefing, they can ask MITI to give them a special briefing behind closed doors, right? So that's one response I have. The second response is more from a process standpoint, which is Wong Chen is the the chairman of the Parliamentary Special Select Committee on International Trade, and he issued this statement yesterday. He had a meeting in his capacity as chair of that Parliamentary Special Select Committee 2 days ago, on the 12th of November, where they invited the American Malaysian Chamber of Commerce, AmCham, Lee Heng Gui from the ACCIM think tank, Socio-Economic Research think tank. They invited Third World Network. They invited Rais Hussein from Emir Research to come and give their testimony. Right, so I think I can guess some would be more in favor of the ART, others would be more critical. So this is something that, again, taking the audience behind the scenes, as the chair of that select committee, you should, if you want to be fair towards the ART, what you need to do is to get the secretariat to compile the reports of these different people that give the testimony and to come up with some sort of executive summary on what they say. And then as chair, you can put in your recommendations there, right? Within that context. That is a process to be followed. But when you issue the statement, not, with that knowledge that you have accumulated as chair, which doesn't include all the other Parliamentary Select Committee members, and then you add in two former ministers there, Rafizi and Nick Nazmi, whom would have been privy, I believe, to some of the negotiations and discussions within cabinet when they were there,
That's right.
including the mandate, that I speculate would have been given to Zafrul to negotiate with the US. So from a process standpoint, it's actually quite troubling. Not done in good faith lah, in my opinion, as a former Deputy Minister of MITI and a former MP who has been involved in these kinds of select committee discussions, right? So especially as chair of a select committee, you have to exercise much more professionalism and restraint in this point, which is why YB Liu Chin Tong, Deputy Minister of MITI, whose statement in a forum actually was used by Wong Chen in his statement to say that, even Chin Tong agrees that this is a lopsided agreement. Chin Tong came up to say, look, I said that in the context of a lot of other things that you did not mention in your statement in terms of protecting Malaysia's own interests, in terms of the context, not just the tax, right? And I think Chin Tong explained it very well in his statement. And one has to, again, read between the lines, because this is actually quite unique. Having three government backbenchers criticize in a very, I think, open way, a policy, an agreement that was signed by their own government, the Madani government, and something that has been, endorsed and supported by the Prime Minister. And this deal was, negotiated by Tengku Zafrul, who is now a PKR member. Right? So can you see where I'm going on this? Right? So it is a bit of a flavor of party politics coming in,
See.
and that also makes me a bit uncomfortable, because you are playing party politics using an issue that has national implications.
Concerns. Yes.
Right? So, I hope that gives you a little bit more insight into some of the understanding and the machinations even within the ruling coalition and the MPs involved lah. Right? Of course, I think Zafrul may not be in a position to be able to comment on these things, right, given his position, but I can.
Last month in job. I'm trying to get him on the show. Maybe we should talk to him together on the show.
He's already appeared on Keluar Sekejap.
Yes, that's right.
I think the episode will drop next Monday. I'm not sure when our episode will drop, but hopefully next week, so that we can, compare and contrast some of the things that have been said on this topic.
That'll be fun right after that we get him on, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So any more thoughts on this this ART, or do you think we've covered a lot already?
For me, I think we have covered a lot already. At the end of the day, I believe that ART is actually something good. I think a lot of people are politicizing it. Yeah, that's pretty much about it. Yeah.
So for me, maybe one last thought lah. I wrote a op-ed or a statement on this, basically trying to explain my views on the ART, and I use this analogy at the end of my statement, and hope that it's something that you can relate to lah. This is what I said. The most suitable analogy for the ART is like taking out an expensive car insurance policy when you know that there is a dangerous driver out there with a much bigger and stronger vehicle that can easily damage you without giving a second thought. Right? So it's like, okay, you know that the car is behind you or near you. Big monster truck, F-150 lah, right? Ford F-150 that may come and whack you anytime. And you have to drive off. And then they will drive off. Right? So knowing that, would you want to pay a high-price insurance policy? You would, right? You would.
That's right. That's the right thing to do.
Yes. And I want to add this on. This I forgot to put in the statement. This high-end insurance policy, we have to maybe pay a high premium. But I will call it a deferred premium. You know why? You are from the insurance sector, you know lah. We have not been called to really pay the cost of the high-end premium because the discussions with the US in terms of some of the obligations in this ART is still ongoing.
Yes.
And we can find ways, if we can find ways to skillfully push back, then the premium is deferred.
Yes. So, since you brought that up, there's something that I came to learn about this particular thing. When we say that investing the 70 billion, it doesn't mean that our government put in the money. it meant our GLIC and our businesses here will commit to buy. And when we say commit to buy, there has to be a common interest.
Yes.
For example,
Commercial interest.
Yeah, commercial interest, right? And it should be common interest and commercial interest, right? If let's say I want to buy X amount of digital goods, and naturally, probably some of them is dominated by the US anyway, it is memang part of my spending to start off with.
Yep.
Number two, there are certain very big items that we tend to order. And I was just checking, one of it is airplanes, right? You can place whatever order you want. It will take them...
The queue is very long.
The queue apparently is so long that by the time they can fulfill, you may already have a new agreement. I'll just put it that way.
Could be, yeah.
So-
Whether it's Airbus or Boeing, it's a long line.
So I was thinking about it, right? The more I thought about it, right, I realized Malaysia also very smart. The way we put it out there was very smart as well. To a certain extent, after analyzing of it, I realized that this whole agreement is to give Trump what he wants. Trump wants that
Feeling.
feeling.
Yeah.
And he wants that champion in Southeast Asia that's got champion for their interests. And we are just giving him exactly that.
We want to give him the feeling that he has won.
Yes.
But at the same time, we protect our own interests by skillful language
That's
and
right.
negotiation.
That's right. Yeah, I think that's a way better way to put it. To give him a feeling that he has won. But actually, yeah, we are also protecting our own interests while we do that.
Yep. So hopefully that gives you a context with all this art stuff. And we'll come back and talk about other, maybe less controversial public policies that have happened over the past couple of months. Be right back. Welcome back to the Are We OK podcast, the podcast that talks about politics and public policies in ways that are accessible to you, the person on the street, and our fans. I'm Dr. Botak, back here on a special episode as a guest, together with Peter, Mr. Money.
Hello. Yeah, welcome back.
So Peter, one of the other things that I want to talk about with regards to recent public policy developments is the rollout of the BUDI 95, the targeted petrol subsidy.
Yep.
I think from a detailed standpoint, I'm sure everyone is familiar with it. RON 95 reduced to 199. You're eligible for 300 liters a month.
Yep.
Subsidized at the price of 199 compared to the market price of 260 or 265 or whatever the market price is. You use your IC to validate, and you must have a valid driver's license in order for your IC to be valid for that lah. Right. So before I share my views on this, any thoughts on your side from this policy perspective?
I thought it's very well implemented this time. Yeah.
Quite smooth.
Very smooth. Communication was clear. The way to implement it also good. And finally, there's a use for IC beyond just touch and go or something like that. Yeah. But because of that as well, then you start to link up to apps, right? So, like for example, the Settle app, directly linkage.
Touch and go.
Touch and go, direct linkage. You can just pump petrol. And I think this could be the beginning of a lot of other initiatives that we can have to identify who's able to receive.
Other targeted subsidies that can use this kind of ecosystem.
That's right.
Yeah. What I really like about this, the implementation of this policy is the fact that whatever price that you see being displayed is the actual market price that you would have had to pay.
Yes.
At 260, I think the latest revision maybe 265. They revise it on a I think weekly basis, if I'm not mistaken. So, when I pump for my Proton X70, full tank is about 110 ringgit, right? But I actually pay only about, let's say, 85 ringgit. So what is very good about this policy is that, right, because of the display of the market price versus what I pay, I appreciate the subsidy that the government is paying.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. I thought that was damn smart as well, right? Because, right, I was pumping $10 in petrol, right? I was just pumping $10. I drive an EV now, so I don't really pump. I just wanted to test it out, right? Then I got $13 of petrol. And I was thinking to myself, wow, I just got $3 free from my government. So I was I was like, wow, this is so smart. This is like worldwide cashing in on good faith immediately.
Goodwill, goodwill.
Goodwill.
Yep.
Goodwill cash in immediately, man.
So there's another thing that I think is quite smart with regards to this policy, which is if let's say in the future the government wants to do better targeting, meaning you reduce from 300 to 250 to 200 liters, for example, or if let's say you increase the price to from 199 to 205 to 210. And that is probably a better way of targeting and also saving the government money. The shock to the system that's being faced by the driver will be less, right? Because the display price will still be the same at 260 or 265. It'll still be about 110 ringgit for me, right? But the subsidy I will get will be less lah. So 110 maybe instead of 85, I'm paying 95.
Yeah.
Right. But I still think, last time I got 25 subsidy. 95 ringgit now, I'm still getting 15 ringgit subsidy.
Yeah.
Right. So suddenly, psychologically, you don't feel so bad. So it's a very famous tweak, very clever tweak.
Very clever tweak. Yeah,
correct.
Very clever.
And I also thought about it from an implementation standpoint. The reason why they wanted to display the full price is because, let's say you go over the 300 quota, right? Then the next time you pump, let's say you are going from, let's say, 280 to about 320, right? There'll be a portion of that where you pay the full price, and then the portion where you receive a subsidy, right? So from that perspective, it is still something that is important for implementation point for the full price to be shown, because you may be paying part of that full price or the entirety of that full price if you finish using that quota.
Yeah. I think the first time I realized how powerful this was when I was enrolled into a university, UPM, right? Because UPM, when you sign your enrollment papers, they show you the full price of your education. I recall mine was about close to 70K. And then it says the price that you need to pay is 19,000. That was the first day that I felt my government damn good.
That one is for 3 years, 4 years?
4 years.
4 years, yeah.
Right? Yeah. And so then when this thing happened, I was like, wow, that's like just an everyday reminder of what you can get out of it, right? In that sense. And yet at the same time, it sets your benchmark there. You know that you are supposed to be paying this.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I will only have these quibbles about this, BUDI 95 policy lah. I think the first complaint that I have is, why wait so long to do it? Why wait until September this year to do it? You could have done it last year and then save yourself billions of ringgit.
Because we need that, padu ma.
Exactly my point.
Try first.
The padu system is not being used.
Yeah.
It's junked already.
Hey, I was quite happy that they did not try to save face and insist on using it.
Correct.
Yeah, that was actually something that I was quite worried about. Yeah.
Actually, I wasn't worried because I know right from the start it's a non-starter. MOF would not have used the PADU system for any sort of targeting. Right? So, one quibble is that. The other quibble I have is, I don't think Anwar should have reduced it to 199. Right? I think, of course, I know it's politics. He wants to fulfill the election promise that, when he becomes PM, they can reduce the price of petrol. But, it doesn't send the right kind of signal from the perspective of wanting to have a green energy transition. It doesn't incentivize people to go out and think about buying EVs, for example, right? Because the petrol price is so cheap, right? So maybe, after the next general election, if it's going to be held next year, then I think the government can think about trying to adjust the price to send a better market signal on this green transition, and also ask people to be more careful about driving, and also proper targeting, because right now the 300 liters is probably sufficient for 95% of drivers out there.
Yeah.
Right.
And like me, and I drive an EV, I still get entitlement.
Yep.
So for me, it's like, might as well use mine for the people who really need it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Right. So that's BUDI 95. I think generally speaking, a good policy that was rolled out. Credit to all the different stakeholders, MOF, even Touch and Go, they are doing a lot of the back end stuff for this policy. I know that the My Kasih Foundation was also supplying some of the machines for the petrol stations in some of the more rural areas that don't have a good connectivity, right? So all this is part and parcel of the larger government ecosystem, working together with the private sector to get this done in a very smooth fashion. And I think with more data available, when the government sees how different people are utilizing this BUDI 95, hopefully they can fine-tune the policy along the way and make it more targeted, together with other government policies that they will introduce in the transportation, petrol ecosystem.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, the other thing that I want to talk about, which I think you probably know more than me, something I want to tap your expertise on, is the introduction of the consumer credit bill. This was done earlier this year. And basically, the intention of this bill is to bring in basically the buy now, pay later schemes that's being offered by different entities out there into this regulatory framework. Because right now, the regulation is maybe not quite together. And for some of the practices with regards to the Money Lending Act, for example, this is the pawnbrokers and whatnot. I think slowly but surely they'll bring this under the consumer credit bill as well, with proper governance, proper committees that will be established under this bill to oversee some of the regulations. So my question to you, Peter, is what do you feel about buy now, pay later schemes? I know you've done a recent video on this, and how do you think the consumer credit bill will be able to improve on the regulatory ecosystem for BNPL schemes?
So when we talk about buy now, pay later, I think for most people at the moment they hear it, they feel like, hey, it's such an evil tool, right? You're making people go into debt and so on. But I particularly, I am a bit of a very neutral person, because I always see tool as a tool. We'll put it this way, right? Buy now, pay later, how it works is very simple. It helps you to access into credit in a very, very small amount, right? So think about it. If today you're from a poor family, which I've been, that's why I can understand, right? If you're in a poor family, and assuming on that day your tire punctured, the only way that you're going to fix your tire right now is actually go to your uncle, auntie and borrow money, or either you have a buy now, pay later, which allow you access to a 500 ringgit tire, right? Now, in my opinion, it is extremely helpful at the point. Yeah, because it doesn't need any payment record, doesn't need anything. And it allows me to have little bit of credit to build up. Okay, however, here's the thing. Just like a kitchen knife or fire, a kitchen knife, you can use it to cut veggie, or you can use it
Stab people
and
or
stab
rob people.
or rob people. Fire, you can use it to cook things, or you can burn down a house. To blame the fire for being evil or to blame the knife for being bad, I don't think it's very logical reasoning. However, with that in mind, there should be certain policy and regulations to come out together in order to facilitate a better use. For example, I think it's illegal today if I want to carry a knife and walk around the mall, with it being displayed and holding in my hand, running around. And these are what we call policies, right? To actually ensure safety of usage. And in the past, the problem with buy now, pay later was the fact that it doesn't appear on secrets, right? And it's not just buy now, pay later. The truth is a lot of KPKT loans, pawn shop loans, they're all not there. These are a way, way, way bigger loan market than we ever bring it up to the surface of the papers. So if I were to say it is bad, the rest of others are bad, right? So I think what matters is we need to have some sort of a policies around it to create more responsible dispense of loan and more responsible credit taking. Now, with that in mind, some people's, one shot, I just mentioned it all, is that some people say that buy now, pay later, the once you do a late payment, the fee is very high. And I do agree, the fee is super high.
Yep.
Yeah, like if I take buy now, pay later, the fee can go as high as 30% of the total purchase if you just keep making late payment.
Yep.
Comparing to a credit card, which is about 18%. Suddenly now, credit card is a lot more tame, right? Yeah. But here's the thing, credit card, they will give a 5,000 limit. If you're talking about 18%, it's quite significant, right? You're talking about 700 just for that year, right? You're talking about buy now, pay later. The max credit I'm giving you 1,000 ringgit.
Much smaller amounts.
Much smaller. Number two, at the moment you late payment, I lock you.
You can't do any more BNPL.
You can't do any more BNPL. So maybe you bought a pair of shoes, 300 ringgit. First round, you late already. I lock you, I charge you a very high fee. You will remember that lesson for the rest of your life, right? Which is what happened to me. So I actually have I use Atomy. Right?
BNPL.
Yeah, Atomy, BNPL. So I bought a pair of shoes, right? Because they give me a $50 discount. So me and my wife was like, oh yeah, let's get that, right? Then I put the app aside. I never use it. And I never set up my auto payment. So after about 5 months later, someone showed me, say, hey, you got Atomy? Then I opened. Then you realize that,
Oh shoot.
I totally forgot that I even have this thing, right?
Suddenly you find out you owe them.
Yes, and it was like, so I was a bit annoyed. But because of that,
You remember.
I forever remember. Yeah, so I would say that BNPL, when being used right, it is a very good rotan that is bearable.
Good discipline.
Yes, it becomes a good discipline. Compared to credit card, right? Hey, you just pay a bit, you can continue keep rolling, you know. That is the danger.
They don't lock you as long as you make the minimum payment.
That's right.
And then your 18% keep on rolling.
Yeah, that's right. So actually after a while, as I was debating it, as I was thinking about it, then I realized that, yeah, it is, with the right regulation, I think it's a good tool for people to start approaching credit because you won't die. You won't go bankrupt. You will just get very angry.
Okay, so my initial thoughts towards BNPL was actually quite negative because, again, like you say, it's something that encourages people to get into debt, and it probably targets disproportionately those who are in the lower income strata. But after listening to some podcasts, educating myself a little bit more, I think there are users for it. I like what you say during emergencies. And there may be opportunities for smart consumers to understand that these BNPL schemes are beneficial not just to the company that's offering these services to you, but you may be able to gain from it because these companies can extract certain discounts from the companies that are selling those goods because they can sell in bulk, they can get better terms, they can attract a bigger customer base. So they pass some of that savings to the company, but they also pass some of the savings to the consumer, right? So what this bill does, when it's fully implemented, one thing I hope would be to make sure that the terms and conditions of these different BNPLs are made clear to the consumer. That means this is the late payment. This is the extra amount that you had to pay because you're paying over a longer period of time. These are the discounts that you may be getting because of certain discounts from the part of the retailer, for example. And when more of this information is put out there, hopefully smart consumers can differentiate between different BNPL schemes.
Yes.
So, for example, what you said, I need to get a tire because my car tire is rosak. There should be different BNPL schemes that compares how I can use different schemes to buy different tires from different shops. Then you can compare, and then it becomes an attractive consumer market from a competition standpoint.
Yes.
Right? And then your part about locking the access to BNPL, if let's say you don't pay and the credit limit is quite low, by bringing all of this into CCRIS, you prevent the situation whereby somebody, I get locked out of this BNPL, I go to another BNPL.
Yeah.
Right? So when everything is put under CCRIS, there's much more transparent information sharing as well. And then, that discipline that you talked about will also be on that person that, I cannot just go from one BNPL to another, right? There is this ecosystem that capture my credit terms, and I will be punished if I don't pay properly. So I think probably easiest for Bank Negara to facilitate this, get some of the tech and financial platforms on it first. People like Grab, for example, they have a BNPL platform. And then as this becomes more mature, then probably bring in the pawnbrokers under the money lending act, because that one is a bit more tricky lah. To
Yeah, that
manage.
one no, me more tricky. Koperasi loan. Tricky, right? Tricky.
So again, I think credit goes to Bank Negara for facilitating this, and I think there would be a learning process by which all the stakeholders are brought in. Systematically, these policies are also introduced, proper governance, regulatory structures, and I'm quite glad that this was introduced and passed. One of the good things that I've seen over the past couple of months. Any other policies that that capture your attention over these couple of months? Budget or things like that?
For me, in terms of financial literacy, since that's the part of my business I think one of the biggest interests that I had was the idea that Bank Negara started implementing this thing where anyone who takes a loan, personal loan above 100,000, they have to go through a financial literacy class.
Yep.
And I thought that was a very good one. And I was at this the latest financial education network launch where Prime Minister Anwar was there, and he was talking about bringing in financial literacy into schools. And I thought these two, if can really happen, that'll be great. That'll be like fantastic, right? Because the truth is, whether you like it or not, the whole financial thing, it's a lot about education.
Yeah, and I think there's a very good point that you made. One thing that I forgot to mention in the discussion on BNPL is that I think we should give credit to the younger generation these days, because they are much more, probably IT literate compared to a lot of us. And they're able to spot these kinds of financial trends much faster than us. A lot of them are investing in Bitcoin now, probably get exposed to that kind of investment ecosystem way before, maybe me. I know you are much more aware in this area. And I think, we should equip them, the younger generation, with the tools to be able to do financial arbitrage and investment, right? So this is something that younger people should get accustomed to, meaning, okay, they see I can benefit from taking BNPL purchases here, and then at the same time, some of my savings, even though it may not be much, I can channel through to some sort of a money market fund that I can invest through the number of growing platforms that we have here in Malaysia, or even through some of the digital banks that offer 3-4% interest rate. Put it in touch and go up to a limit of 20,000. You can also get access to money market funds that gives you about a 3% return as well. So then you start to get the younger generation more interested in knowing how to shift your funds from one place to another, to maximize whatever returns that you have, and then also to do things like, okay, I can put this much on credit card, and then I make the payment, hopefully the full payment when it comes time to pay. At the same time, whatever excess cash that I have, I put in an interest-bearing digital bank account or a money market fund, and that will be part and parcel of the financial literacy and understanding process, right? So definitely good stuff to look out for.
Yeah. And I think the last thing is that I think in the early of the year, I was a bit skeptical of PMX way of doing things, right? Yeah, I think all of us were quite skeptical of it.
It's like some hits and misses.
Yeah, hits and misses. But coming to the end of the year, when you start reflecting back, yes, there's still those hits and misses. But I think overall, he actually did orchestrated things quite well. I think thanks to a very, very solid team.
Yes.
And also thanks to a lot of things that he cannot control that put us in the right situation, right?
Yeah. I mean, some skill, some luck as well.
Yes, some skill, some luck. Yeah.
Yeah.
The luck was there, but if he didn't have the skill and the right team members to do it, well, it would have been bad. But I think this time things just worked well. So with all the rumors of next year could be the election, I think it could be a good time. Yeah, and especially just now we're talking about the BUDI thing. My thoughts are, his struggle has always been in the B40 market, feeling that he's not
helping them enough. Yeah.
That one is a daily reminder.
Sure. Yeah, so you mentioned PMX and his team, and I think a lot of credit has got to go to the Ministry of Finance, the second Finance Minister, Amir Hamzah, for I think what I would say to be a good budget. No big surprises. Fiscal discipline and responsibility,
Yep.
reducing the budget deficit, and putting us on a firm ground. Market is quite confident. Ringgit is appreciating, right? So I think that kind of stability within the MOF ecosystem, within the larger economic ecosystem in Malaysia. Credit has got to go to not just PMX, but his team at MOF, second finance minister, Bank Negara governor, and a solid team there. Even the Securities Commission, the new executive chairman, Dr. Azmi from PwC, talking about things like tokenization of bonds, so that the larger retail market can have access to this. So you can see all the different pieces coming together, and elections could be called next year. We're gonna undergo and see the Sabah state elections. Maybe we can come back for an episode to talk about this. Maybe with some other guests, and maybe for the final segment, which we'll come back to after this, let's talk about the upcoming cabinet reshuffle that will take place after the Sabah state elections, right? And I'm sure that will provoke some interesting conversations as well. So we'll be right back. Welcome back to the final segment of the Are We OK podcast, where myself, Dr. Bota, is making a special guest appearance together with Mr. Money.
Yeah, welcome back.
Thanks. Okay, last segment, we're going to talk about the upcoming cabinet reshuffle, right? So just to set the context, we have a couple of spaces to fill. Tengku Zafrul is stepping down as MITI Minister, I think in early December, 2nd or 3rd of December. His term as Senator expires. You can only have 2 terms, 3 years each. And that position needs to be filled.
Yep.
Important position. Minister of Economy position needs to be filled after Rafizi left. Minister of Natural Resources and Environment, NRE, and Sustainability, NRES, has to be filled. Nick Nazmi stepped down. And also now, Iwan Benedict, Minister of Entrepreneurship, Development and Cooperatives. He resigned from cabinet because of the Sabah 40% revenue issue. And they're going to field a lot of candidates. I think 20 to 25 candidates in the upcoming Sabah state elections. And there may be other transfers of and changes at other cabinet positions also. I think the cabinet reshuffle is going to be relatively minor because like we speculated, elections could be called as soon as let's say end of next year. But from the market chatter, what are some of the interesting names that have been discussed and speculated with regards to this cabinet reshuffle?
For me, my antenna got one generally will be that few names lah. Kari Jamaluddin, and then
Maybe Nur Izzah.
yeah. But these are the 2 most popular one. The rest is, they did mention the name a bit, but I also don't quite remember kind of. Yeah.
So let's start with Khairi. Obviously, the name that has elicited the most excitement, most reactions. For context, I've not discussed this with Khairi. So whatever I'm saying here is just educated guesses and speculation, if you will. But he's been speculated as possible minister for MITI, perhaps.
Yep.
Right. Or just come back to cabinet in some sort of capacity. And let me just take you guys behind the scenes lah. When it was speculated that Khairi may be a possibility to come back into cabinet, there were a couple of news items that followed quite, in conjunction, whereby President of UMNO, Zahid Hamidi, said, cabinet is Prime Minister's prerogative, right? Almost as if to say that, hey, if you want to bring in Khairi back into cabinet, Anwar can do it, but it may not necessarily be under UMNO's quota. Right. So I think that is still being discussed. That's still being arranged, so to speak. My sense is that Zahid Hamidi would not be inclined to propose Khairi as a cabinet minister under UMNO's quota because of internal party politics. Meaning, there may be others that feel they are more entitled to this position because they have served UMNO well over the past 3 years under the unity government, either current deputy ministers or, let's say, the Secretary General of UMNO, who doesn't have a cabinet position or even a deputy minister position now. And there may be others lah, say, hey, I've served the party well. Why bring Khairi in and immediately give it to him? So that's one thing. And I think for PMX, even as much as he understands and values Khairi's skill set as a politician, as a leader, as a potential cabinet minister, I'm not quite sure whether PMX will be willing to bring him on board without UMNO's blessing, without UMNO's endorsement, right? Because this will be sort of like a non-UMNO appointee, but somebody who is being brought back into UMNO.
Yep.
Although I would argue that it would be a good appointment, whichever position that he takes, because it will create some excitement among the public. It may even help UMNO in some ways to have somebody like Khairi come back to UMNO having this kind of cabinet position to be part and parcel of the UMNO rejuvenation process.
Yes.
Right. So, yeah. But if let's say I were to throw it to you, if Khairi were to come back into cabinet, which ministry would you want to see him lead?
If you ask me, I think Miti.
Miti. Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
Simply because watching his podcast, talking to him, having those rare occasions of being able to communicate with him, I think he's someone who's very well versed, not just in policies, but also in business. He knows how to maneuver between business and everything. He has a very good overview. And I think that because the bar that Zafur set was also very high.
Very high, yeah.
So I think anyone come in, right, a bit hard lah. So Khairi does have that, and he's someone who can adapt very fast and learn very fast. Right. Like for example, one of the interaction I was with him, right? Recently I was in car with him, chat with him, and he told me, he said, hey Peter, oh yeah, so he was talking about my business actually. Then he said, I actually took a course on behavioral psychology.
Yeah. During COVID.
Yes. And then he told me, I took it during COVID time. And in my heart, I was thinking to myself, right? Wow, you were minister during at that department during COVID time, which was already busy enough. And at night, you go home, you go and finish off a course. That takes a lot of commitment. Now, I think this guy can work.
Not many people can do that.
This guy really can work, and he's also intelligent enough. So I think he should take that because also so that it doesn't disappoint me lah. when I look at the cabinet lah, for my own good,
Sure.
Huh?
So I think definitely in terms of fit, Miti would be a good fit for him. Me personally, I would prefer him to take the education portfolio.
Do you think that would be? I thought it's only that few available choices.
I bring up
open up for that. I also don't mind this one.
I bring up education because obviously there's been a lot of news items on some of the education policies in Malaysia, some of the engagements with regards to some of the education crisis. Maybe it's not fair to the current minister because she's actually first-time MP, and then you catapult her to this position. She doesn't really have a very even compared to Masli, who was in a university for many years, she doesn't really have very strong exposure to the education ecosystem, right? So of course, I think the challenge with that kind of appointment is that for the education portfolio, you actually need 2 terms, at least 1 term, if not 2 terms, right? And if let's say you throw whoever it is, whether it's Khairi or somebody else, into that role, and you only have, let's say, 1 year to be able to deliver certain things like the new Malaysian Education Blueprint 2025 to 2030, there's not much that you can do. So it may not be that fair to him. But he's skilled enough to be able to take on almost any cabinet position role lah.
But now that you mention it, if there's a position for that and he can stay long term, I think I would hope that he'll do education.
Yeah.
I'll be very, very happy. I'll call him more.
Sure. And it will be a big challenge for him, but I think with the Prime Minister's backing, definitely.
And he has the willpower to drive things too.
Yes, correct.
That
He's not afraid to take hard decisions like the generational end game, GEG on smoking and whatnot. The other person that I think would be suitable for the education portfolio, and I've said this in a recent forum, is actually Nurul Izzah. So okay, sharing my views on this, the main obstacle for Nurul getting into the cabinet now is, of course, PMX. PMX going to take a lot of heat on nepotism, this and that. But to me, look, you've encouraged maybe or given your blessing, tacit blessing, for Nurul Izzah to contest the deputy president position against Rafizi in PKR. Right, she won. She's the deputy president now. Under normal circumstances, the deputy president of the party where the president is from should be named as a cabinet minister. Right? And I think that there are even more compelling reasons from a long-term planning perspective. Nurul has never been a deputy minister or a minister. She's not even been a chairperson of a government stat board. Right? So I think this is the right platform for her to shine. She's got experience as a 3 or 4 term MP. She's been involved in different parliamentary select committees and whatnot. So even if, let's say, the time horizon is short, 1 year, 1.5 years, she should have that kind of experience under her belt, especially if, let's say, she wants to take on and take over Anwar, or one of the contenders to take over Anwar as president of PKR, and maybe even present herself as a possible prime ministerial candidate later on. Right? Without that kind of experience, it's much harder for people to take her seriously. Would you agree with that point of view?
I think that's very true. All the political nuances is there. And I was just thinking to myself also, there's this question about like, if Anwar was never the prime minister, I think a lot of people would have endorsed her as a minister or deputy minister. It would have been a natural progression. I think she was simply moved out because the fear of nepotism talk, and everything all, and that has to be addressed.
Yeah.
And I think they already took their part to address it. And now that she's given the opportunity to, well, we can say that it's a nepotism thing also, but while she's given that opportunity to, she also have to shine, right?
Yeah.
So I think it is, you shouldn't just because my father is highly successful and fear of that, therefore you don't give her a chance.
It's not fair to her.
It's not fair to her.
Yeah.
Right. So that's
And
my point.
it's actually not fair to the party, PKR, and even to the country.
That's right. Because we talk about PKR, it's not like some very, very big party with like, I don't know how big, but I'm always comparing in terms of DAP, right?
Well, PKR is bigger than DP from a membership perspective. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, different kind of ratio. But when we say that people who can probably take the lead and being a minister and has the willpower to push things through, I think if talking about education, forget about your understanding of policy first. You need to have a character that dare to challenge the norms and push things through.
And be able to even work within the system and challenge the system at the same time.
And she does possess that
experience,
experience,
those qualities.
That quality. So far, she has displayed that. So I would say that, by candidate-wise, yes. The only thing is experience.
Yeah. So, something to think about and look out for. Other candidates for the meaty minister position I've heard is Dato' Joe Ghani, the current Minister for Commodities and Plantation. And also acting minister at NRES. I think he would be a good candidate as well because of his experience in the corporate sector, been a minister of finance too before, can engage on the international setting, that would be good. I think, again, UMNO quota, Ahmad Maslan, who's currently the deputy minister, I saw you smile just now. People have different thoughts about Ahmad Maslan, but, I've seen him in parliament, he's had experience as deputy Minister of MITI before, of Finance. Now he is at Works, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not as good of a choice as Kyrie or Joe Gani, but maybe a consideration, especially since a lot of the heavy lifting has already been done by Zafrul, and then there's a very capable deputy minister there, Chin Tong, to help stabilize things. So those are the candidates. I think for Ewan Benedict's position, one of the vice presidents in PKR who won, Datuk Ramanan, the Sungai Buloh MP, who's now the deputy minister at the Ministry of Economic Entrepreneurship Development and Cooperatives. He may be elevated because of the so-called Indian quota within PKR, so he may be given that position. I think Amir Hamzah may double hat. He may take on MK2 and also take on the Ministry of Economy portfolio as well, and I think he'll be a very suitable
I think that should be fine
candidate.
for him. I think it'll be just kacang putih for him.
Yeah. I think the NRES position is one that's quite important because there's going to be the Climate Change Act that will be introduced next year, possibly alignment with the carbon tax that will be introduced in 2026, hopefully. So there may be other people that PMX is considering from different parties. So at this point in time, maybe a bit of a disclaimer for myself, because some people would think, hey, why is Kian Ming making this appearance on this podcast at this point in time?
Are you trying to pitch for the job?
Correct. Is he trying to lobby or to position himself as somebody who wants to be nominated into cabinet? Just want to say categorically here that is not the case. I started a new corporate role, which is why I had to take a leave of absence from this podcast. And I've just been confirmed. I got my confirmation letter yesterday. I'm very happy with the different challenges and opportunities in my new corporate role, and not interested to go back into government at this point in time. So I just wanted to put it out there. I'm just making sure that we have a fruitful discussion with regards to all the policy issues that we've talked about, and also some of the intricacies and nuances of some of these names with regards to cabinet reshuffles. There may be some minor reshuffles here at the deputy minister level, but most of the attention will be paid on the ministerial front. So I think those names more or less will be what people will pay attention to. Maybe some dark horses that we haven't really considered, but if let's say Warisan gets a lot of seats in the Sabah state elections, they may want to propose one of their candidates to enter cabinet as a deputy minister or even a minister. So all these things, still up for discussion. But I think the more important thing is who is the team that PMX wants to take leading to the next general election, which may be held sooner rather than later. And also, I think what's going to happen to Zafrul, right? He's joined PKR. Likely to be given a seat in Parliament, in the next round. Probably be
Take
given.
a holiday of 1 year?
No. Well, he's got the responsibility of heading the BM now, the Badminton Association of Malaysia. I heard he's doing some good things from a reform perspective, professionalization, and also, he may be asked by the PM to, be his economic advisor, to be of some sort of advisor to make sure that he still is able to have inputs into the larger trade, investment, economic ecosystem in Malaysia because of his experience as MOF and then also as MITI minister. So like to thank Zafrul here because of the good work that he's put into MITI in the past 3 years. I'm a bit biased, of course, because I know him as a friend, but objectively speaking, I think he, and together with Chin Tong, they've done an excellent job at MITI during these very challenging times.
Yes, same thing. I do have the privilege of having so many interactions with different ministers, but with a lot of ministers I've interacted and spoken to and their team as well. I think Zafrul's team is very solid. Like usually you can see, it's very solid team. Their communication is very solid. The work that they do is very solid, and more importantly is that they brought results. Yeah, regardless of whether what we think or whatnot, their team brought results.
Yeah, investment numbers, you
Yeah.
know, our trade relations, FTAs, ongoing, and also those that have been signed, you know,
Yes.
new laws, legislation that were brought in, amended, you know, Chin Tong with Zafrul's blessing, you know, produced a report on the steel industry. You know, I was part of that committee as well. So, you know, the National Semiconductor Strategy, the new Industrial Master Plan, you know, a lot of things I think were achieved in these 3 years under MITI.
Yeah, and another thing that I really like about him is that wherever he go to, he makes a report card.
Correct.
He makes a report card. By the way, I think I'll attach the report card down here for you all to download. I think it's open for people. It's out in the press. Yeah, they sent it to me the other day. So I'll attach it here below for you guys to download.
Good accountability, you know, transparency, and probably a practice that more ministers should follow. Yep. So any final thoughts, final questions for this particular episode?
Well, I think it's really fun having you on board. Yeah, we should do this more. Yeah, especially now that you have a corporate role. We understand the sensitivity of it. However, I think it also allows you to talk at it at a whole different lens suddenly, right?
Sure.
Yeah, and I think it's good for bigger corporations also to be able to see this side on how things are, to interpret it. Because as a business owner, I think one of the biggest struggle is generally on how to interpret what's happening nationally and how do I make it to my benefit.
And even now internationally.
Yes, yeah. Even for me, right, I think I'm just very fortunate to be in this position that I am in, getting a chance to chat with you, different ministers at a time. And that's because I'm in the media business, right? And sometimes I think about it myself, any business of my size generally won't have this
Access.
Yeah, they won't have this access. So, and this access is very privileged and it's very beneficial for you to make your next move in a business decision. So I think it's a good thing.
Yep. So with that, hopefully this will not be my last appearance, or maybe in a long while there may be hopefully opportunities for me to come again, and maybe with other guests.
Yep.
And I look forward to that. In the meantime, thanks for all your support for the Are We OK podcast, the podcast that talks about politics and public policies in ways that are accessible to all of you, our supporters and listeners. Thank you very much, and see you soon.
See you guys.